Hello and welcome to Hasta Abajo podcast. I'm Melissa Ortiz.
And I'm Camila Ramon. And if you're joining us for the first time, let me tell you a little bit about this podcast. Now, my girly Meli here, she's an Olympian, former professional soccer player, and now a sports broadcaster. I'm a fitness enthusiast, Peloton instructor, perreo connoisseur, like I like to say. Actually, I was the first cycling and tread instructor to teach classes in English and Spanish on Peloton. But most of all, we're two amigas and a chisme, trying our best and keeping it light, all while empowering you to know your worth, feel your best, and remember que no pasa nada. It's not that deep.
That's right, Cami. And today we're going to talk about something that we both have dealt for as long as we really can remember, and that is about body image. Before we dive deep, like we say, hasta abajo, we're getting deep into conversation about body image, I'd love to talk about why this topic really hits so close to home, Cami, especially because you work around this, and this was part of why you do what you do, right?
Yeah, today it's one of my main goals professionally. I'm here to shift the narrative, particularly in the Latino community, that removes all the aesthetic pressures, especially as it pertains to fitness. You know, I didn't see any images of like athletes and girlies in fitness that weren't, models growing up. We were talking about this in the car literally on the way here, how when we were smaller, now things are changing a little bit slowly, but there's still a lot of work to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm here, to tell all of y'all on the other side that it is okay to accept yourself. It is okay to love yourself. It is okay to be happy where you're at. And you do not always need to be moving just to shrink yourself, just to make yourself smaller, to be más flaca. Like being flaca or flaco does not equate to health. And your mental health plays a huge part in your overall happiness and joy. So that's what we're here to talk about. And Meli, I know that you've, have had personal experiences as a professional athlete as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy to say this and think this because as athletes, you always have to. You have coaches, okay. Yeah. And you have a staff, and you have to go by, their nutrition plans, and you have to weigh in the mornings and weigh out at nights. And when I was younger, I was always super skinny, incredibly skinny, to the point where, like, at nights...
Can we backtrack a moment? They make you weigh in?
Yeah.
When?
In the morning.
Every morning as an athlete?
Yep.
As a soccer player?
Mm-hmm.
Como futbolista? ¿Por qué?
Yeah. Just to know how you are, what your water weight is like, how is the track of your weight going, how much, because you lose a lot of water weight from sweating, right?
Right.
And so they want to make sure that they're tracking how much we are going up and down throughout
That's
the
not
week.
bad, but I think naturally as women, doesn't that like make you hyperfixate on your weight
sure.
and compare with the other girls on the team?
That's my point. That's exactly
right.
what would happen. So, and the thing for me when I was younger, since I was super skinny, is that they would give me like these shakes to help bulk me up. Okay. And that's okay. Like that's as an athlete and you're dealing with like this body image and your fluctuation of weights. Now, when I retired and now I'm like, quote unquote, in like the real world ish,
right.
In my day to day, I have to exercise, I have to eat right and all these things. I had to remind myself at some point in the last, 8 years since I haven't been playing professionally, is like, I'm doing this for me, for my own health, for my own nutrition, for my own positive mentality for
right.
me, not for anybody else. So when people ask me, because look, like I am fit, I like to stay fit, but don't like, Cami, I mean, there are days where I'm like, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're talking to yourself in the mirror like you shouldn't be talking to yourself in the mirror. You're saying shit that you shouldn't be saying.
Yeah, and you can't be talking to my friend like that.
No, exactly.
And I can't be talking to my best friend, a.k.a. me, like that either.
Exactly.
Isn't that so rude?
So
I wouldn't
rude.
tell you all the things that I say to myself sometimes.
Don't be such a bitch to yourself.
Literally. I could be the biggest asshole to myself. Me trato re mal, Meli. And honestly, a lot of people think that because, I'm in a place where I've healed myself, that those conversations never pop up again. It's so common.
Yes.
The thing is that you train yourself too. I don't know if this has happened to you. Like you can recognize when you're talking shit to yourself to the point that you're like, I literally cannot fucking stand you right now, Camila. Like you are being such a bitch to you.
Yeah.
And when that happens to me, I start to reevaluate like other aspects of my life that maybe I'm too stressed, I'm not sleeping enough, I'm not eating properly, I'm not fueling myself for my workouts, or I'm consuming things that I shouldn't be consuming and I'm getting lost in the sauce. Yeah. I feel like it's so common and more people need to know that even if you have healed a relationship with yourself, it's an ongoing battle. Just like, we journal every day to make sure that we are staying consistent in our
Do you journal? Do you journal?
I love journaling. More than meditating.
I gotta do that.
Yeah, I journal way more than I meditate. I scribble.
I love that.
I love
Like right before you go to bed?
Sí, me gusta escribir. Wow. And,
yeah.
El chisme también.
Yeah. I gotta get access to this journal.
No, you won't. Over my dead body. I'm gonna put it in a safe now.
You better.
Now that I know you come over. Oh my God.
So this is something I wanted to share with you, which when I think back to young Meli when she was 15 years old, with dreams of becoming a soccer player. And my mom and my dad, they hustled. They're immigrants from Colombia. They hustled to make dreams possible, right? And they sent me to this soccer camp in the summer at a big university. And if you go to this like soccer camps at these universities, it's a big deal. One, because it costs a fuck ton of money,
right.
And also because you're given an opportunity to be seen in front of other coaches, so that you could be recruited to play in college. So I did really well. And I get back home, and what's so shitty to think about and to say is like, yeah, I talked about my play. I played really well, blah, blah, blah. But a certain percent of my take backs or my takeaways, of my takeaways was about body image. I saw, some of the coaches were current and former players, in their 20s. And at the time, I'm 15, 16. And I saw that these female players were like so strong. They had, their shoulders were strong.
Queens.
Yeah, literally, right? Their legs were fully developed because again, I was like a stick. Okay, their legs were fully developed.
I also had really skinny legs.
Strong quadriceps. And at the time, I saw that as like not a positive thing. I was like, and it kind of like detoured me in my mentality.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's because when I think back about it and I reflect, I think it's because I was raised, and you too probably, in this like Latino culture where, women were raised to be petite or con curvas or, whatever we saw in the salsa videos
only
when we were
allowed
growing
in
up.
the right places. Like you cannot have one curva out of place if not you're wrong.
Exactly.
And well, it's like what I brought up earlier, like the images that we saw on TV, they weren't necessarily athletes leading fitness workouts or fitness classes. They were models that were hired to sell this image that also sold us products to make us skinny. So you had that image of what an athlete looks like, and you went in real life and you were like, it's a shock, right? You're like, oh, this is not what I was sold my whole life. Is this the reality of what it is?
Yeah.
Do I actually want this for myself? And it's, as a girl, that shapes you.
It does. And I think back and I'm like how dumb was I to think about that? But at the same time, it's because of the way that, not I was raised because of my parents, but because of societal reasons, because of the TV shows and las novelas I don't know, that we would used to see at night, or los discos. Do you remember the cover albums of like the old CDs? I don't know, my dad had like a collection of CDs, and there was like a bunch of like skinny women in bikinis. That's just like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
She looks good.
She did look good. She did look great. Don't get me wrong.
Right. But we only saw one type of woman.
Exactly. And there are many types of women. And it's all about loving yourself. And it's even to this day. I know we're talking about when I was, 15, 16, but currently I gotta share this story with you, because this one actually I wanted to like rip my hair out. Let me take a deep breath.
Okay, I want to hear all about this story.
Yeah.
But first,
okay,
we have to take a break.
All right, let's do that.
Listen, I know that it's so crazy that this is something that we deal with on a daily basis, and I'm so glad that we get this platform to talk about it. I actually had an interesting situation, much like yours, on a music video performing for somebody pretty big.
Oh, sure.
And I have a lot of instances. I actually haven't even gotten into the nitty gritty of talking to you guys about my personal story, but we'll talk about that when we get back from the break. All right, Meli, we are at the edge of our seats. Please continue with this story that you were going to tell us.
That I was about to rip my hair out.
Go
here
for
we
it.
go. This was recent, y'all. This is recent. So we had a friend over, guy, Latino, And, we were just talking about one of my friends doing triathlons and how incredible that is. Because, girl, I won't even do triathlons. I do marathons, full marathons, half marathons, but triathlons, like, that's hard.
What is it? Is it the swimming?
What do you mean? Is it all of it? It's the bike, the swim. I mean, the run I could do. The swimming does scare me a little bit. Not scary, but, that's a lot.
The open water makes me nervous.
If you're from Florida, you're scared of sharks.
There's too many things in there. Okay, sidebar.
Okay, sidebar. And so he's the guy, Latino friend, started sharing that, his sister started swimming. And he said, my sister was really into swimming at some point when we were younger, but I had to tell her, hey, you should really back off because your shoulders are becoming a bit masculine. Yeah.
Desgraciado!
I know. And I literally wanted to just jump across the table and give him a little cachetadita. But because I was just like, boyfriend, what if your sister was won the gold medal in swimming for your country?
That makes me so sad.
Right?
I literally want to pick up that little girl and give her a hug because that's little me.
And say, dale, keep swinging.
Keep going, keep swimming. Be happy.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. For real.
1000%.
I had to share that with you because it's current. It just happened a few weeks ago. And I was appalled. And I wanted to use this as an example in this body image conversation because we cannot treat our younger selves like that. We cannot treat our future generations like that. And if you're listening, and you are listening because you're already glued in to the fact that I almost jumped across the table and gave a cachetada. But
chancletazo para ti.
Yes. We have
1000%.
to make sure that we use our voices and we keep on helping to change this narrative so that we can inspire girls and people in general to do whatever the hell they want and not care about what the effects of broad shoulders are gonna be.
And talking about our younger selves, my experience with body image, I told you guys I was born in Argentina. My family, I'm still very tied to my family in Argentina. In Argentina, it's very European standards, model, they value zero muscle. It's just all flaca. At least that's how it was in the past. It's getting better. It's still kind of there. But for example, for me, I also grew up dancing professionally. So I remember I would stand in the mirror and look at myself in the mirror and say why are my hips so wide? Why can't my hips look like theirs? Right? I remember I really wanted to dance and to do. I love performing. I've always loved it. I was auditioning for a beauty contest, right? On I think I was 15 or something or 6. No, I was 16, 17. I think the cutoff was 16, 17. Might have been 17. Anyway, I was auditioning for one of these things and I showed up to this place and I was recently telling the story to somebody else and I was I remember that because I was bigger than these girls, they would kind of brush me off to the side. And somebody said, do you think that it's because that was actually a reality or do you think that that's what you felt inside? And at the moment I answered probably 50-50, but then thinking back on it, I was no, it was a reality. I did feel that way for a reason because I was brushed off. Mind you, the other girls were extremely talented, so I'm not saying it was just that. But there's those kinds of situations where you go up to a family member and then you've been working out, you've been training, you feel good, you feel strong, and then they're esta mujer es un camión. That they didn't mean as something negative, but I don't want to be compared to a Mack truck.
No, who wants to be a camión?
Unless you're talking about my ass specifically. In that case, I got an ass like a Mack truck. That's cool.
Back it up like a Mack truck.
But in general, I don't want that comparison, especially not when I've been raised to be dainty little flower. I don't want to hear that, right? Nor should anybody be commenting about other people's bodies. I remember one time I was recording a music video for an artist and I felt really good. I worked really hard to look a certain way. Yeah. I had my spray tan, which makes me feel snatched. I hadn't eaten food in fucking 2 months, which is
not
horrible.
Not good.
So I went up to this music video and everybody's like, oh my God, your legs look amazing. You look so great. You look so good. And everybody was complimenting on my body. They didn't know that I was taking fat burners. That I was in a very, very terrible mental state. I was the unhappiest that I ever was in my entire life. Wow. I was unhealthy. I didn't feel good. I felt like I was about to pass out every single time that we performed. Yet everybody was praising me and the way that I looked. Mm-hmm. Very similarly, around that time, I was on a dance team and I was talking to one of my teammates and she looks at me and she goes, wow, you are so skinny. It's just sometimes you your hips are wide, and she comments on my hips and she's like your hips are wide but you're so lean right now. That's crazy because it doesn't people will forget.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? How dare you? Like, the fact that people feel they have the audacity, or they feel like they have the right to comment on other people's bodies is actually insane to me. It's actually so insane, which is why today one of my missions is to help change that narrative. I tell the story all the time, but one of the moments that I realized that I wanted this to be my profession, and that I wanted for this to be like one of like my main areas of focus, was when I had just finished. I graduated from college, right? I got a big girl job. I was working at a PR firm representing international businesses throughout Latin America and the Caribbean. So I was working a lot, and I had events at night. So I stopped going to the gym for like 3 years. I stopped working out, which is crazy for me because I was always an athlete. I ran, I danced, I jumped, brincando, bailando, saltando, everything. And one day I decided I wanted to start working out again. And I was motivating myself from a negative standpoint because I hated the way that I looked, because my body had changed, because I wasn't training and taking care of myself, One day I was running like 6 miles in the Key Biscayne Bridge, and I finally was coming back around to hit the bridge again. And I was so frustrated with myself because I felt terrible. I felt like I wasn't in my body. I was talking so much shit to myself, Meli, that I got to the top of the bridge and I broke down. I was crying in tears.
Oh my God.
And I had just finished running 6 miles. Like, how ungrateful.
Seriously.
So I looked up and I was like bawling, and I was like, qué pena que nadie me vea. Like, I don't want nobody to see me crying right now. Yeah. But also, like, it was such a beautiful day. I might as well have been like dolphins flying out of the ocean, and you know, people like, you know, on a boat having a party.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I look up and I'm like, how ungrateful are you right now?
For real.
Like, your legs just allowed you to run 6 miles. Your lungs, you're healthy. You're doing amazing, girl. Cheer up.
You know what's crazy that you say that? It's like so many of us will do a freaking hard workout. We'll run
1,000%.
whatever it is. Even it's a new goal. It's to run a mile. It's to run 2 miles. It's to run whatever. Or even if it's, you know, getting your ass out of bed to just lift weight, like anything. Like, be proud of yourself. But there's so many times when we finish the workout, we look at ourselves in the mirror and we're like, oh, I'm not there yet. Or
100%.
Me faltan 10. O me
but you want to
faltan
know
5 libras.
El truco que empecé a hacer.
Don't tell me yet. Let's hear that. Let's hear that truco after this break.
Okay.
All right, Cami, you're gonna tell us el truco que empezaste a hacer to help you change that mind
Heal
shift.
my relationship with my body.
Exactly.
Yes.
What is it?
So you were talking about looking at yourself in the mirror and be like, I'm not there yet. So I decided, well, first off, here's my process of how to start to become more in tune and at least start to accept yourself a little bit more in your body. Number 1, move for fun, not for punishment. Absolutely necessary. We have to move for the rest of our lives. Our bodies were designed para moverse. Tenemos que movernos siempre, pero no porque we have to do it, but because we were designed for it, because we have the opportunity to. We are doing it with gratitude, right?
Absolutely.
I started that by calling up my friend after work, and I was like, vamos a caminar 30 minutos y a chismosear. And they would be like, no te vas a creer lo que dijo Juanita hoy en el trabajo, or what happened in this meeting. That entices you to walk. I know you're a chismosa too. Yeah. So we started walking like that, and then little by little I started to incorporate, you know, like I started going to dance classes, which are a little bit more, you know, upbeat, a little bit more intense. Then I started to, you know, lift weights again. Then I started to incorporate a little bit more running always for fun.
Yeah.
And or for distance, but never with like a specific number in mind, until I started to feel better about myself, and I realized that I was able to tolerate that.
Yep.
Then, or throughout that process, after a workout, instead of looking at myself and looking at my body and being like, you're not there yet, I hate this about you, you are so ugly, because I would legit talk to myself like that. Can you believe that?
That's
How
insane.
sad is that?
That is
How sad is that?
I feel bad for old Cami inside.
100%. And when I talk to people and when I have these conversations, I'm talking to little me.
Yeah.
And current me too, because you know, we always have to pull ourselves back out of these things.
We still gotta go through it. Yeah.
So I look at myself in the mirror and I say, thank you. I would start with the easy parts. Thank you, lungs, for allowing me to do what I did today. Thank you, heart, for beating. Thank you, legs, for letting me run 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, 6 miles. Thank you, you know, arms, for holding my back upright. And then I would go to the parts. Thank you, hips, you know, for being a part of my body and taking me through. Thank you, pancita. Yeah. I love you, pancita. Like, that was so hard for me to say at first. Like, I love you, pancita.
I love this.
And little by little, even though you don't believe it at first, you start to believe it a little bit more as you move forward. So that was, you know, my tips and tricks. But Meli, I want to know from you, like, how do you handle, because I know like how I handle it, but how do you handle it when like somebody makes a comment about your body, somebody else's body? Like, what did you say when, you know, this guy said that comment about the shoulders?
To be honest, I wish, and I backtracked a few weeks ago, I wish I would have said something, you know, in front of everyone.
Yeah.
You know, como que de pena y no de causar nada, you know, out of a comment in front of a bunch of people.
Which happens to a lot of us, and let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Like, I could sit here and say, like, you have to call them out in the moment, but that's not real. That's not
and
life.
we were with a bunch of people, so I didn't want to, like, get into it, right? But I should have. Or I should have, you know, talked about it maybe later. But at the same time, like, it's just... if we're in a smaller setting, I think I would have, but we were in a larger setting with a bunch of people, and I didn't want to call them out on it, if it makes sense.
Yeah, I think, you know what helps a lot is like taking it kind of like lightly, as a little bit more like, if you're in a big group of people, and you just talk to the person, like to the girl, and you could look at her and be like, you know what? I have really strong shoulders because I'm an athlete, and that makes me beautiful.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
For me, also, sometimes I don't like to bring it up right away, so I'll just like pull them over later and be like, hey, cuando dijiste eso, la realidad es que no sé si vos sabías that I have struggled a lot with my body image. So when you make comments like that about my body, it takes me back to a place mentally that I don't want to go. Yeah. So I would appreciate it. And 99.9% of the time, people are like, oh my God, I didn't even notice. I'm so sorry. And then they start to learn little by little. But also, we have to be... First, I think when I first started, you know, this like campaign, I was a little bit less flexible with people, and I think that that's also unrealistic, because we have to be fair with the Latinas of our generation too, that we have been programmed year after year after year, our entire lives conditioned to think that there's something wrong with us. So we project that outwardly. It doesn't always come from a place of malice. It just comes from a place of conditioning.
Exactly.
And the only way to end that is to like kind of like call them out on it in a way that isn't necessarily like harmful emotionally for everybody involved. Obviously, if they're being a bitch, then you could be like, hey, tia tóxica, shut the fuck up, okay? Totally. I don't want to hear it from you anymore. We're not going to have this conversation. I'm going to eat the sandwich, okay? Leave me alone. You know nothing.
I will have my empanada, by the way.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 empanadas, and all the croquetas too.
So I do want to try to take a positive out of that. Like, say, for instance, in that moment, because of the group setting, I didn't say anything. But this is where your mind shifts, okay? If this exact thing at the table would have happened, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago, I probably would have been like, not even realized how, like, sideways that comment was about his sister being a swimmer and her shoulders becoming broad. Okay? Talk about fucking badass. Like, get my shoulders to be broad.
100%.
Like, so, but the fact that my mind made that mind shift to acknowledge the fact that that was in the red, like, that's the point. And that's the point of also about, let's say, talking about this right now, because listeners are going to also maybe now start to acknowledge
and that's where you start.
Red card comments.
And that doesn't only happen with other people's conversations. Because think about how hard it is for you to realize, oh, Camila, you're being a bitch to yourself. Like, don't be talking to yourself like that, right? It's already so hard for you to recognize when it's your own thought. So imagine how hard it is for you to be like, in the moment, be like, oh, that's a negative thought. Oh, this person's going to be affected. Let me intervene right now. It's also not fair to put that much pressure on yourself, right? So I think just like it starts by registering it. Always. I always say it starts by registering it and making sure that, you know, you register it. And so the next time you'll be a little bit more aware and you'll be like, oh, okay, like I know how to handle this, but also I know how to handle this tactfully in a way that's actually going to be received by the other person instead of them getting defensive.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, listen, the things that we do for movement, the life that we're leading, we are leading that life for ourselves. We have one body. We have one life. We do not have to wait any longer to be happy in the body that we have and with the life that we are given. We are not doing this for other people. We are not doing it for other people's acknowledgement of our bodies. We're doing it for ourselves, especially when it comes to movement. Movement is something so extremely personal, okay? Yeah. So like, we are qualified, we are enough, we are going to move forward, and we are going to continue to empower. If you're in a position, and you're listening to this right now, where you're in a position where you can help other people have that conversation and empower other people, I love that for us. But if you're in a position where you're just receiving this and you're like, okay, maybe tomorrow's the day that I start, you know, talking to myself a little bit better. Yeah. That's a huge deal. Oh my gosh.
You know what I love? Well, first off, I love what you say. And I also want to add to that. It's about you have to love yourself first before you can love others.
Right.
And one of these, who was it? Mel Robbins has this one thing, and it's the high five. So what she does in the morning, and if you guys have ever listened to her podcast, but she looks at herself in the mirror and she gives herself a high five in the mirror, and it helps you gain confidence in yourself. It helps you start when you first see yourself in the mirror. It gives yourself like its own positive reinforcement from you to you. And I absolutely love that, because you wake up in the morning and look, we all wake up the same way. We all wake up with our hair all over the place, with stinky ass breath,
Yes.
And then your first image, you're just like, oh shit.
I look crazy right now. Yo, my hair do be looking crazy sometimes. Me levanto y soy medio mamarracho, but you have to love yourself in that moment. To love yourself,
because you know what? Be grateful that you woke up in the morning.
But also we all wake up like that.
We all do.
We all wake up like that. Yeah. Just because influencers put on makeup before they do their morning routine and get out of bed. Bitch, I've done that before though. Let's be real. Oh my god.
No, but I don't do makeup.
Right.
No.
A little,
you gotta keep it real.
Cute bun.
Cute. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But on that note, love yourself before you can love others. You have to love yourself. And also, like Cami said, it's about being grateful for everything that you have. That whether it's the legs that move you, whether it's the arms that drive you forward, and it all starts in your brain, in the way that you can mind shift yourself to first think gratefulness and then think confidence, because being grateful for yourself and what you have is only going to fuel your confidence within you.
100%. And my challenge to you guys is to start practicing this during and after your workouts. While you're working out, while you're training, start to practice gratitude. Afterwards, if you're feeling good, not if you're feeling good, especially if you're feeling bad, look at yourself in the mirror, try what I said, and make sure that you incorporate it in little aspects of your life. If journaling works better, positive affirmations, put post-its. If you want to high five yourself in the morning, if you want to look at yourself and twerk in the mirror to some Benito and then say, I am that bitch, soy esa perra responsable y nadie me va a joder hoy en día. You scream that really loud in the mirror and then you move forward. But I'm just so happy that we had this conversation today, Meli.
Absolutely. I think it's very important.
And before we go, at the end of each episode, we want to leave you with some of the two things that we love, and that is música and
El fútbol.
El fútbol, baby. And I have to say, I made you a pumped up playlist for those days that you're feeling low, so that you can use it while you're getting ready, while you're on your way to work, if you have a meeting, if you have anything important, or honestly, if you just need a little oomph to get off the couch. I promise you there's some fire perreo in there, and you're gonna be feeling como esa perra, ese teso, el más duro, la más dura, la más diosa after listening to this playlist, because la música lo soluciona a todo. Y Meli, hágame famosa. Tell me something about sport.
All right, there's this one player, up and coming, badass. Her name is Ella Martinez. We have so much in common, actually. She is born and raised in the United States, played for the U.S. youth national team, made the jump to the Colombian youth national team because her dad is Colombian, her mom is Puerto Riqueña.
Okay. Slay.
She committed to Duke University already. She's only 16 years old.
Okay, keep your eyes open, everybody.
She's played in a Youth World Cup already, and she's about to play in a few other Youth World Cups until she's makes the full team. But keep an eye out. You could look her up on her social media handles. Ella Martinez, badass.
Ella Martinez, remember the name, okay?
Well, I have to say this was a very interesting conversation, Cami, and I hope that our listeners got a lot out of it. But we also want to hear from our listeners as well, because this is all about building community and being open with each other. So if you all have any of similar stories of dealing with body image, and also how you got through it, what changed that for you? Was it setting a goal? Was it changing the way that you talk to yourself? We want to know. Okay?
We want to know. And remember, you guys, we're doing this on our side, but the more that we talk about this topic and the more changes that we make together and that we continue to have this conversation, we need your help. The more people that we have, men, women, literally any person out there who feels passionately about this topic, talk about it, be about it, help people, so that we can all learn to love ourselves and lead the life of happiness, joy, and self-acceptance that we deserve.
Amen.
Amen, baby. And baby, this was Hasta Abajo, Meli.
That's right. That's it for this episode of Hasta Abajo. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast, and thank you so much for being this. We'll see you next time. Hasta abajo. Hasta abajo. Hasta abajo. Hasta abajo.
Hasta abajo. Abajo is an iHeart women's sports production in partnership with Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment.
For more podcasts, listen to the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.